Welcome back to Choose Christ Completely. We hope this segment of your time is a blessing to you and your family and deepens your relationship with the Father. I am Brandon Kegley, and together with Justin May, we're going to dive into number 2, talking about how to control our thoughts.
Yeah, taking thoughts captive. Now, for anybody that's wondering, I think I've said it in the podcast a couple times, but this comes from a book. The ideas come from a book. You know, what happened to me this week was I got the idea of the passage. Kyle, when he wrote it in the book, he cut off the first 2 verses, and he just did verses 3 through 6,
sure,
which is reasonable.
Yep.
And when I went to the NLT, when I went to it to study, to get ready, it puts verses 1 and 2 in there. And so when it puts verses 1 and 2 in there, I just decided I'm going to put verses 1 and 2 back in. And that kind of shaped the way the idea went, because actually verses 1 and 2 speak to this idea of like, hey, when you think about yourself, what do you think? So anyway, we won't get too much into the sermon yet. If you didn't know, we had internet problems at church this week on Sunday. And so there is a copy of the sermon out there on our Facebook live. It's a little wonky because I sat down in service and was like, what are we going to do to solve all these problems? And the service was going because we started on time. And I leaned over to Whitney and said, we don't have the internet, so we don't have a live stream. And she said brilliantly, like all good problem solvers come up with a simple solution. I'll just play it from my phone. I was like, it's a good try. Let's do it. And so we had a little bit from her phone onto I think it's onto our Facebook. But I don't know. I may re-record at least the sermon portion and send that out so that.
I'm surprised the software doesn't have an ability just to record it and keep a digital.
It's just like all the software here.
Everything's
based on the internet. I mean, it's a.
Well, that's what it took us an hour to get this thing going because the internet's still down.
Because up to this point, we've used the internet to store and to save all of our videos. And now we had to figure out, well, what does it look like for us to just cut the computer and cut the internet out?
And by we, he means Justin.
And the great thing is we have a lot of that equipment. We had all the equipment here already.
Right,
So just took a little bit of patience.
Well, I tell you, we don't really have a set thing to talk about this week, but the storms lately have been... one of the first things we talked about in the podcast was mowing, and the mowing lately has been terrible because, when you have time to mow after work, it's raining, or it's Saturday and you've got the 3-hour window to do something, and I'm about ready for the storms to be over.
We've gotten a lot of rain in our area, haven't we?
Yeah. Well, it feels like it. I was looking up the rainfall totals, and it says we're on pace for it to be average.
Oh, okay.
But I feel like it's very, sometimes our rain in the past is very concentrated in a day or two. This has just been spread out every day. I was talking with a farmer yesterday, and he said, it's terrible at my house. I have to mow every 2 weeks, or I'm mowing twice a week just to keep up. And trying to control ticks and all that sort of stuff has been a nightmare. But it's good to have rain. We're not complaining about the rain.
It's always good to have rain. Yeah, I've probably mowed, I don't know that I'm quite at twice a week, but I'm probably every 5 days mowing. And still having lots of clippings in the yard and whatnots. But I've learned that, when it rains like this, you also have to do like work to a pool. Our pool at our house is up and running. And so like, I'm also now having to backwash the pool so that the level of the water is below the skimmer. So, those things you just don't think about. This is going to be more work.
Pools are always high maintenance.
They are, aren't they?
Yeah.
I knew the chemicals.
Is it chlorine or salt?
It's chlorine.
Okay,
I did
so it's
chlorine.
even more work.
Everybody that I know has salt, and they were like, "Yeah, you should do salt. You should do salt." And I just wanted to do chlorine. I don't know why. From the get-go, I thought chlorine, and I was like, I'm just going to do it.
Salt's more expensive on the front end,
Is it?
but reduces expenses on the back
Well, I
end.
think the pool, like the salt, like a pool that can handle salt, like the liner and all that, it's all more expensive.
Right, exactly.
So-
Yeah, everything to the upfront cost is much more, but over a 5-10 year period, it reduces costs.
Did you know that you actually do put chlorine in
You
a
do.
salt pool?
Yeah, you
I
do.
didn't know that until, all I've been doing is YouTube and pool chemicals.
I know way more about pools than I really should, but
Well, you swam in them
Yeah,
for years. Yeah.
you know, if you're gonna have a big meet and have a lot of different variety of people in it, they increase the chlorine levels
Mm-hmm.
to make sure they kill any bacteria that anybody brings with them to
Yeah.
the meet.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a school that will not be named that was known to have more proclivities
Okay.
at their school
Okay.
occur. And so our person who was controlling the pool was known to increase the chlorine for that meet we had with them.
All right. All right.
So yeah, anyway.
Well, you do
Pool's
that.
fascinating.
I mean, even as mine's a much smaller pool, but if you're going to have a lot of people over, like you do
Yeah.
work on the front end before and you do
Mhm.
work on the back end after,
Yeah.
because just like you were saying, people bring in their own things into the pool.
The reason why we don't really go to water parks. Because I know what occurs in all of them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I peed in a lot of pools.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, thus far, I hope no one's peed in the pool. I've laid that down on my kids. Like, we ain't peeing in the pool, y'all.
well,
Like,
when you're training, you know, sometimes it's just easier just to do a quick pee for the 5 seconds than to get out of the pool.
yeah.
And then when you're in meets, I mean, and you're in the competition, the big meets, where I might normally wear a size 30, I'm
Mhm.
down to a size 26 or 24
Mm.
for the meet.
Oh.
And the idea is to create a restriction, and you create some restriction on your quads, which allow your feet to bounce back faster and more aerodynamic, all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
And so it's hard to get in. I mean, those suits would take 20 minutes to get into.
Mm.
And if it's wet, it's even worse.
Oh, yeah.
So you just leave it on and you just pee through the suit.
Okay.
So I peed if you go to a swim meet, the pool has been peed in several times by several people.
They're going to have to use a lot of shock afterwards.
So it just is what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, so we definitely been learning a lot about pool
Mhm.
chemicals
Yeah.
and keeping up with that. But it just like the yard.
Hey, you know, ironically, we didn't plan for it to, but pools tie into taking every thought captive.
How's that?
Well, you have to create a controlled environment.
Oh, yeah.
And if you allow the environment to get out of control even just a little bit, the work required to get it back into focus is so much more.
Oh, that's one of the things I hear over and over again when I watch different people talk about it. One of the things they'll say is it's easier to keep clean water clean
Mm-hmm.
than it is to keep contaminated water clean.
Yeah.
And so I check it at this point. I'm probably checking it every morning because I'm just trying to
Learn the rhythm and you're
learn the
paranoid.
rhythm, learn how many scoops of this affects it, how many scoops of that affects it, when do I put in this sanitizer. Because you shock it, and there's a deoxidizer that you use. You put pH in it, you put alkalinity in it, and it's stabilizers. There's five things you watch,
Yeah.
how they're going. And then the chlorine. I mean, you got to watch the chlorine. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's been fun.
Yeah.
I like deep diving into stuff and like knowing way too much and learning new subjects. That part of it's always fun to me. Like if I'm gonna do something new, like I can't think what's something new you've done. Getting a pool for me. I mean something new like building a house. Like I'm gonna like deep dive
Yeah.
into it and just keep
Well, the more you
watching
know,
and
the
learning.
easier it is to adjust when a problem does occur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when
If you're trying to wing it,
like this technology, like where we've switched it, I can guarantee you the next 10 hours of my YouTube time is going to be how do we do this better? How do we make sure it's recording all of these and so I love knowing too much.
Yeah.
And then being like, how is that useful? It's not.
It might be one day.
It might be one day.
Might be one day.
Might be one day. You think I'll be a pool manager one day?
Probably not. Yeah. But at least you'll know how to deal with the pool you've got.
Yeah.
You got to protect the investment you just spent.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Well, and thus far, I wish it would have been up at the beginning of summer. We've been in it 6 days a week.
Yeah.
Even with the rain and stuff. We just watch.
Now, do you have it temperature controlled? Do you have a heater on it?
No heater on it.
So do you have a cover to put
we
on
have
it
a
to heat it
solar,
up?
yeah,
Okay.
a solar cover that kind of soaks in the sun. And then I bought a solar heater. It's a little black panel that does the same thing, kind of soaks in the sun over water that's distributed through it. But I'm not sure it makes that much of a difference.
What's the temperature?
I don't even know. Don't have a thermometer in it. It's cold enough to where just jump in and get used to it. So
Cold.
it is kind of cold.
Yeah.
It is kind of cold.
Yeah.
But we didn't get it up until the end of summer.
Right.
So those really hot days.
What started this discussion, you haven't had much sun to offset the rain.
Yeah. But we've been in it a lot. I mean, I was in it last night. I took a motorcycle ride with my dad and and then got back home and me and Cindy and Shelby jumped in. Thea was on the screens. So we went back to the week before school, no screens during the week.
Okay.
And so he was like, I'm going to play Fortnite. I got to get my sprites. I don't know what a sprite is. So he was playing Fortnite while we were all swimming.
Wait, so you had gone off the screen limit during the summer?
We had relaxed it a little.
Okay.
And given them some time.
Okay.
Not totally off of it, but
Yeah.
some of the time during the day they were allowed to have their individual screens.
Yeah.
So
how did that transition going back and forth go?
Going back off of it, like not having screens, they went through withdrawals. No, it was fine, but
They still went through
it's a
withdrawals.
good rule to have, and I'm glad Cindy thought about re-implementing it before school started so that they kind of had time to adjust back to the normal pattern.
Yeah.
So.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, how's school been for your kids?
Well, anytime school starts, it's always an interesting transition. And
It is.
for us, it's a new school, new procedures, new people. So relearning some of those things are a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
As it is going to be anytime.
Yeah. Your kids like it?
Yeah, Reagan loves it.
Good.
My boys have never really liked school, so we'll see if Reagan becomes jaded just as much as they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's she like about it?
I think she just likes, part of it's Reagan's a little bit more people oriented, and Beckett had some understanding of what it was like to have everybody home. Reagan doesn't as much, so I think she saw her brothers get to go off and it was just her, and she probably felt like she was missing out on things.
Oh, yeah.
Beckett was excited the first little bit too, and then he was like, oh, this is terrible.
I feel like, I don't know if it's like someone's going to be maybe upset. I think it's like a gender thing. I mean, girls are very social. And, man, Shelby is, at least in my household, both of my kids are pretty social, but Shelby is like next level, like almost so social that she probably gets in trouble a lot at school for talking.
Yeah.
So that's what she enjoys about it.
Well, I think for Reagan, she just wants to have grip around brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So not many little girls in her life, right, on a regular basis. I think that's kind of where hers comes from, is trying to find a friend. We enjoy this, that first day of school, she found somebody here at church that goes here.
Oh,
and
cool.
they found each other on the playground and have been playing together.
Yes.
But they didn't really know each other before, because the girl had just gone into the class with Reagan right before school started. So, from a parental perspective of having boys first, it is different and interesting to kind of get the full dynamic of what the day looks like. Boys would come home and say, "Oh, it's great," that's it. Reagan comes, she tells you every little detail.
For sure. Well, I think that one of the things I want for my children is I want them to have their best friends. And I want their best friends to come from church, to be honest. And when you tell me that story about Reagan finding her friend and her friends at church, I'm like, oh, man, that's exactly why we do this, is so that some of my best friends, I met them in church, and I could depend on them for anything. And I want the same thing for my kids. I want them to learn that you can have that same experience.
And I think it'll tie some into the discussion today, but I think too many people have it backwards, that their child is supposed to dictate the friends they have. And at a certain extent, I think the answer is yes, but part of our job as parents is not to go down to our child's level, but to bring them and elevate them up to our level. So if you're letting them always choose their friend and friend groups, it may not be the proper friend and friend group, and the influences of their life are not good. I think part of our job is to say, no, pull it out there and find, sometimes it's not necessarily finding another 12-year-old to be with. It's taking them out of the situation and putting them with some adults. I think I could be wrong, but seems to be what helps is not allowing their friend groups to control who they are. And so sometimes you have to pull them out of the situation.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Bad company corrupts good morals, and we're to train up our children in the way they are to go. And training is sometimes that's not best for us. We're gonna do something different.
I think I talked about it in a prior podcast, but similar to my experience, in 8th grade, the friends that I had developed over the years were having negative influences on the way I looked at the world and the way I interacted with the world, and it was not positive. I fortunately had the foresight to say we should remove myself from the situation, and Mom and Dad agreed. But that year gap in school for me was the best. My life would have looked drastic. I wouldn't be sitting here without it. I'd probably be elsewhere seeking things of the world more so than things of not of this world. Anyway, and again, I think it kind of applies here. I think you were talking about a little bit before. Sometimes the lies we tell ourselves is our kids have to figure it out on their own. And I think the answer is yes, they have to, but they also have to figure it out with the proper guardrails in place.
Well, let's get in our text. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, so we're going to, this is Discovery Bible Study, 3 versions, 4 questions, 2 prayers. The 3 versions, English Standard, New Living Translation, the Message are what we're going to use. The 4 questions, what do you like, what challenges you, what do you learn about God, and what do you learn about people? And then 2 prayers is, God, what do you want me to do with this, and who should I share it with? So let's start the Discovery Bible Study.
2 Corinthians 10:1-10. I, Paul, myself entreat you by the meekness and gentleness of Christ. I, who am humble when face to face with you, but bold toward you when I am away, I beg of you that when I am present I may not have to show boldness with such confidence as I count on showing against some who suspect us of walking according to the flesh. For though we walk in the flesh, we are not waging war according to the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but have divine power to destroy strongholds. We destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God, and take every thought captive to obey Christ, being ready to punish every disobedience when your obedience is complete. Look at what is before your eyes. If anyone is confident that he is Christ's, let him remind himself that just as he is Christ, so also are we. For even if I boast a little too much of our authority, which the Lord gave for building you up, and not for destroying you, I will not be ashamed. I do not want to appear to be frightening you with my letters, for they say his letters are weighty and strong, but his bodily presence is weak, and his speech of no account.
All right. The New Living Translation. Now I, Paul, appeal to you with the gentleness and kindness of Christ. Though I realize you think I am timid in person and bold only when I write from far away. Well, I am begging you now, so that when I come I won't have to be bold with those who think we act from human motives. We are human, but we don't wage war as humans do. We use God's mighty weapons, not worldly weapons, to knock down the strongholds of human reasoning and destroy false arguments. We destroy every proud obstacle that keeps people from knowing God. We capture their rebellious thoughts and teach them to obey Christ. And after you have become fully obedient, we will punish everyone who remains disobedient. Look at the obvious facts. Those who say they belong to Christ must recognize that we belong to Christ as much as they do. I may seem to be boasting too much about the authority given to us by God, but our authority builds you up. It doesn't tear you down, and so I will not be ashamed of using my authority.
Oh, is it just through the 8? Did I read 2 verses too long?
Did you read 9 and 10?
I did.
All right, let's do 9 and 10.
Oh, okay.
I'm not trying to frighten you by my letters. For some say Paul's letters are demanding and forceful, but in person he is weak and his speeches are worthless.
I could have swore you told me it was through.
Well, I don't know what I told you.
Oh, it was 6.
It's just through 6, and then let's add them. It's perfect. We could read the whole Bible.
Well, we could. We're going to do it, but we'll talk about it all.
We'll talk about it all. Well, you got the direct quote there.
I don't know why I was going through 10 in my head.
It's all good.
I wasn't in church on Sunday, so that's on me. But I had to take a kid to urgent care. But anyway,
it's all good, dude. All good.
All right.
The message. Add 'em on there.
That's right. The message. And now a personal but most urgent matter. I write in the gentle but firm spirit of Christ. I hear that I am being painted as cringing and wish-washy when I am with you, but harsh and demanding when at a safe distance writing letters. Please don't force me to take a hard line when I am present with you. Don't think that I'll hesitate a single minute to stand up to those who say I am an unprincipled opportunist. Then they'll have to eat their words. The world is unprincipled. It's dog-eat-dog out there. The world doesn't fight fair, but we don't live or fight our battles that way. Never have and never will. The tools of our trade aren't for marketing or manipulation, but they are for demolishing that entire massively corrupt culture. We use our powerful God tools for smashing warped philosophies, tearing down barriers erected against the truth of God, fitting every loose thought and emotion and impulse into the structure of life shaped by Christ. Our tools are ready at hand for clearing the ground of every obstruction and building lives of obedience into maturity. You stare and stare at the obvious, but you can't see the forest for the trees. If you're looking for a clear example of someone on Christ's side, why do you so quickly cut me out? Believe me, I am quite sure of my standing with Christ. You may think I overstate the authority he gave me, but I'm not backing off. Every bit of my commitment is for the purpose of building you up, after all, not tearing you down.
There we go. So we took this in a direction specifically to go with the sermon series. I tend to like the English Standard the best on this. I think one of the things the NLT does that I was not a huge fan of was it intermixes it between we're taking ideas or thoughts or things captive versus taking people captive. There's one verse in the NLT, it talks about, we'll make everyone obedient, fully obedient. We'll punish everyone who's not. But the ESV kind of pulls that in more as ideas rather than people.
Yeah.
And we have to always remember that we're not battling with people. Like that's never our goal. We battle with thoughts, ideas, concepts. We battle with the way the world would push us into a view rather than God forming us into that view. It's never a person. So,
yeah.
All right. One of the key elements of the sermon I'm going to tell you, and I told you a little bit, but I kept this one a secret on purpose. I was like, we'll talk about it on the podcast. You know, I've seen this happen a lot in people's lives where things that seem simple and little form the character of who they are. And you've probably seen it happen to a kid at some point or another when, you know, they're standing behind mom and dad's leg and they're hugging mom and dad and they're peeking out every once in a while to see the world they're around. And, you know, mom and dad have one of two choices, you know, scoot the kid aside and say, introduce yourself, encourage them to interact with the world, not just look at it. And then sometimes this is what a parent chooses. Then they'll say, oh, they're just shy. And what that does is builds a block in that kid's life, a thing that then could determine who they are. And so that's what the idea of the sermon was. Like, you see this thing that people are saying about Paul. For some reason it affects him, right? He writes it in the letter to correct it. But I wonder why does this one hit him so hard? But anyway.
I mean, he's talking to the Corinthians, so part of this is Greek culture and, you know, so I wondered, Greeks were always known, I don't know if they still are, but they were known to be very blunt. And so maybe that's part of this, is he's just trying to be blunt back with them.
Yeah. You know,
he's also in prison writing this letter, so, you know.
Yeah. Corinth is on what's called an isthmus, and so it's got water on both sides.
Yeah.
And so it's become a hotbed of like all these different cultures and people of importance. They would have sent a lot of generals to retire there, I think. I mean, this is a pretty affluent city and area. And where does this lie come from that's spread about Paul? It's hard to tell. I guess, this is my guess, that it's probably other leaders that just want position in the church, and they use their own arguments to tear him down. And the only reason why I'm guessing that is because it happens all the time. It still happens today. Like, one of the best ways to make you feel better about yourself is to tear someone else down. Yeah. And so I think that's what's going on here is they're tearing him down. But to me, it almost feels like there's something deeper going on. And the reason why I say that is because he'll put, I, Paul. I, Paul, wrote this letter to you. So, and then he'll talk in the same letter about his thorn in his side. He has a thorn in his flesh that he prayed to God for 3 times to remove it. And God hasn't removed it. And it said simply, my grace is sufficient for you. And I wonder, we don't know what that thorn in the flesh is either, but are the two connected? Yeah, are the two like this identity thing that has come into Paul's life, and then maybe he has a speech issue. I don't know. So could be.
Well, he doesn't really write the letters, right? He usually has somebody else writing for him.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's part of it as well.
Something settled in there.
His hand crippled, and it looks like it.
Well, let me ask you a question. And this might be too personal, but you can disguise it and not make it super personal. Have you ever been criticized in a way in which, like, man, that one hit harder than others. There are times when like someone would criticize me, and like some criticisms, okay, like I'm good with it, and then other criticisms, like I don't know, for some reason they settle and they set down there a little deeper. Ever happened to you? You want me to tell you about mine while you're thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to think of one, and I don't mind it being personal, but I've always had a weird ability to take criticisms well, and if it needed to be taken to heart, and this is not to say that I haven't had it happen, if it has stuck with me. So I guess if it hasn't stuck with me, then it didn't.
Well, you're better than I am, because
Well,
there have been some that, I mean, they just literally for periods of time just marked the way that I thought about myself. Like, you know, the one that I used in the sermon was someone said of a lesson I gave, it was boring.
Yeah.
And then for, I mean, months, if maybe not even longer, you know, the whole idea wasn't honor God with what He's given you. Use the faith that He's given you. Use the teaching He's given you. Part of it was, yes, do all that, but don't be boring either. And so... yeah,
you can't focus on the wrong thing instead of the... Yeah. So probably the only time that I can remember is when I went to college. You talking about learning pools and stuff like that. I remember weird things too, and weird facts. And so my freshman year in college, I would just spout off real weird facts. And it developed into what became known as Kegley facts. But as time went, one thing that became clear to me, because it was not necessarily one moment or one person, one criticism, as much as it was criticism on being right when you speak. And so I wasn't talkative enough back then either, but I became more conscious of the words that I chose to use. And if I chose to speak them, then they were typically I have a much higher probability of being right with the words that I use than being wrong. So not a specific criticism that somebody gave me as much as the criticism of a collective group of people to be not wrong when I say things.
Okay, so...
And understanding what is a fact and what is an opinion.
So, I mean, maybe underneath that is, I always have to be right.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not right, I've really messed up. Would you say those are in there? Like, I have to always be right?
I don't know if always be right is if I'm not sure I'm right, I'm just not going to say anything about it. That's probably, the always be right has the connotation that I'm going to force myself to be right. I think we talked about it a little bit last week. You can create your bias and find all the ways it is right. It's not to say that I don't do that from time to time, but majority of the time it is, I just don't speak unless I know that I'm relatively right, if that makes sense. Yeah. I don't know if that accomplishes the same goal at the end of the day as much as, again, I just try to be, yeah.
Would you say you listen to people you disagree with?
Yes.
So, because I could see, one of the things I could see how that would shape the way someone would live is like, well, if the thing always has to be right, then I may not want to listen to someone that I think's wrong.
Right.
And I think that could be it could become a stronghold in someone's life.
It could. I don't have the latitude to do that because I interact with people with multiple different perspectives. And if I come at it with that my perspective is always the right one, then it has the ability to harm that person and then harm my family as well. So,
Yeah.
I tend to, again, I think I said it last week, I would really prefer just to be quiet all the time. I learn more, see more. I can discern better.
Maybe.
So I think sometimes
maybe quiet when you're not supposed to be, though.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And the flip side of that sometimes is I talk more than I should when I'm not supposed to. Does that make sense? Because I don't.
Sure.
It just.
Sure. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. If we're having a conversation, mine would prefer to be dominated by 70% somebody else, 30% me.
Okay.
We're a little bit more loose, I think, with some of that because I've known you for long enough now that there's enough
and
history.
Yeah. And anybody who's watching, they see that we don't look at the camera like that. Ain't even really a thing for us.
Yeah.
We just did it so that it could look nice on YouTube. Like, this isn't a camera moment.
Yeah.
This is just a conversation. And I'm always kind of aware that other people are listening in, but it does the conversation does steer itself. So, I won't keep prying but I'm tempted. What do you think that the idea fits this passage? Or do you think I tried to force it too much?
What idea?
The idea of, a lie that marks you or sticks with
strongholds, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think you probably defined strongholds on Sunday.
Yeah.
I can't say you did because I wasn't there, but the idea of a stronghold is rooted in the lies we do tell ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's the alcohol abuse or whether it's the kid on a pedestal or I always have to be right? Those strongholds are the same. They just might manifest itself differently, and I think that's what he's trying to point out here. And I think that's why he's pointing out the way he maybe is different than that, is so that the readers and us understand what it looks like to fully surrender.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that he also clarifies, like, hey, I'm not fighting this like everybody else is going to fight this. Like,
right.
I'm going to fight this with the weapons of God and what divine weapons God's given me to fight it with. So I think we have to do the same thing with thoughts that come into our head, is we have to use godly weapons to fight them, to not let them be strongholds in our life, not defend them. That was one of the things that I thought was interesting about strongholds, is we can defend them too, and like they weren't supposed to be established that way in our life.
Yeah.
One of the things I didn't talk about in the sermon, but I will just with me and you, strongholds. This is really probably one of the very few times that stronghold is a negative thing. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they're very positive. Like if you go and read the Psalms, like, God is my stronghold, my tower of refuge, my strength, and so God can be that for us too, and it can be a positive thing. We just went negative totally with the sermon because that was kind of his viewpoint, or at least that's how I viewed his viewpoint.
Of strongholds?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Again, I think he uses strongholds here rather than sins, because what you're just talking about, if Corinth is attracting influential military leaders, they're very aware what it looks like to have a stronghold. Probably more so than the poor person, because they have to make sure their wealth is secured. to make sure their lands are secured. So I think he's intentional with that language here rather than just saying sin.
Yeah. Oh, it is definitely war language.
Yeah.
So it probably resonates with them so much more. I mean, we're going to war, we're using weapons, we're defeating strongholds. Like it is not.
I tell you one thing, I love too how before he attacks them, he kind of attacks himself.
Yeah.
And says kind of where he is weak.
Explain, where do you see him attacking himself, or
I who am humble when face to face to you. I think he's commenting on what somebody's commented on him, but I also think that he is commenting on some of himself as well.
Yeah.
To say, I've written all these letters, and every time I write a letter, it's like, I mean, it wouldn't be pastor. Take a pastor who will get on stage, and sometimes they will use more pointed language in a sermon to drive home something to somebody particular, right? I mean, pastors do that.
Yes.
I think that's but you wouldn't necessarily do that face to face in the same manner.
Right.
Does that make sense? So I think that's kind of what he's highlighting he's trying to highlight, hey, I know I do this, but also here is why I do it. I'm trying to show you that the meekness of Christ here's what it looks like on a face-to-face level. But also Christ will call you out when you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, it's like it's half true.
So I kind of liked how he's highlighting how he interacts with them, not as strength, but kind of coming to them in weakness.
Yeah,
I don't know, that's just the way I perceived it. Maybe I perceived it improperly.
No, I think he does say, like, there is some truth to this, right? I came to you in the kindness and gentleness of Christ.
Yeah.
So there is going to be some truth to, okay,
maybe
you perceive me to be timid.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, I came to you with the gentleness and kindness of Christ. Like,
Yeah.
So.
It's a very nice subtle dig too, right?
Oh, it's dripping with sarcasm.
Oh, it is.
Which is so funny.
Yeah.
Because you're like, you don't really think about the Bible, and you're like, oh, they were never sarcastic. It is like dripping with sarcasm.
Yeah.
So what part of this challenges you? Like, where does this passage like land in the? Okay, this is this hard to understand, or this is hard to do?
I think verse 6 is challenging. And that being ready to punish every disobedience when your obedience is complete.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like what is being implied here is that if your obedience to Christ is complete, then part of your role as a follower of Christ is to point out others' planks, right? I don't think Paul ever says anything that we can't do, right? Because he's doing it himself. But to get to that level of surrendering and obedience, and to have the boldness to call out somebody else's disobedience, I think is challenging.
Yeah. I wonder, so one of the first things my thoughts went to was the question of, okay, we're going to take a thought captive and teach it to be obedient to Christ. And then after you have become fully obedient. To me, that seems like after I've become fully obedient, like, is that even possible for me to be fully obedient?
Yeah.
That's one of the questions that comes up for me is like, is this not maybe not sarcasm, but is this more like, when Jesus, the woman caught in the act of adultery, she comes in and they're like, hey, stone her, or should we let her go? And he writes something down. We don't know what he writes, but he writes something down and says, whoever here has no sin, let him be the first to cast a stone. And they walk away, the oldest first or greatest first to the least.
Yeah.
Because they understand they've not
been fully
after
obedient. Yeah.
come to the full obedience. And so I think that, I mean, part of that is in that, in this as well.
Does Jesus and the death and burial and resurrection allow for, I mean, I think so, but for full obedience to look different than it did before him?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And so what I mean is, so I almost wonder if the stronghold here is not talking about the momentary blip where you said something mean to somebody. I wonder if it's talking about the alcoholism or the pornography or the anxiety that controls your life. I wonder if I think that's the stronghold he's really talking about. And so this is just me posturing to you.
Mm-hmm.
Does that full obedience look different than maybe the way that we frame it in our heads, so that it's not full obedience that our thoughts don't wander sometimes? It's just full obedience and that our thoughts don't wander often.
I think so. I think there is a difference. You know, to me, it's interesting you brought up behaviors, right? Alcoholism is a behavior. Pornography is a behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of what Jesus brings to us is not behavior modification. That's just not what he's doing. His gospel was that he would give you life and life abundantly, not behavior modification. But behaviors point out things you believe. Behaviors point out things that you trust. I mean, like a person who's caught in the addiction of alcoholism. I mean, what's underneath that? Do you know?
Mm-hmm.
I would say for a lot of people, what's underneath that is, I don't want to think about and ponder on my past life. Like, I've made this mistake, and I don't want to think about it. And the best way to not think about it is to
Not think about it.
not think about it.
Yeah.
When Jesus came to set you free from that thought, that thing that is playing over and over again in your head, whatever it is. I would think pornography is the same thing. Pornography is a repetitive thought in your head of, I want some type of validation for myself.
Yeah.
I want to feel something. And it is this repetitive thought of, well, I'd rather not think about that part.
Yeah.
And instead just participate in this for a moment.
Yeah.
So I didn't answer your question, did it? It didn't.
Well, I
the
think
more
so.
the more I'm thinking about it, the less it answered your question.
But I mean, it doesn't, and it does, and that again, I think our obedience can be complete without it being complete in the way that we think it should, right? So, you know, I'm predisposed to alcoholism. That's why I don't drink at all.
Right.
But if I did, it would easily become a stronghold, but because I've never allowed it to be, it can never be a stronghold. So, in some ways, that's full obedience, even if you know, the thought of drinking or something like that might cross the mind. Not that it does, but you know what I'm saying. I'm just trying
to. Sure.
I don't know how would you think it would manifest itself in someone to not have a stronghold, but still have full obedience, but still have sin in their life? Only thing I can think of is Paul. So, you talked about earlier where he comes through and he says, "This thorn in my side." Well, it's clearly bothering him some, right? Because he asks the Lord to He asked God to fix it.
Yeah.
So I wonder is that a stronghold, or is that just, but he's clearly not a stronghold, otherwise he couldn't do this, but the thorn in his side is there, which means the sin, whatever it is still present, but his full obedience allows it not to consume who he is. I think that's kind of what he's, I think that long way of saying, I think you can be fully obedient without being perfectly obedient. There's a difference between fully obedient and perfectly obedient. How's that?
I like it.
Okay.
You asked the question, can someone, say it again, can they still, what would it look like to be fully obedient? I can't even remember the question. You had a question, and I was like...
Well, so to be fully obedient, but not completely obedient.
Oh, yeah.
Or perfectly obedient. I mean, it's a different way to phrase it, but essentially, how can you be fully obedient to Christ and be ready to punish every disobedience, but still have sin occur?
Yeah. I think the sin in our life probably points to where we have strongholds we don't think about.
Okay.
I think if you could go to that battle that you're still stuck in, like, man, why do I still
need to be right all the time?
I mean, one of the things I think about that I hate about me, but it is true, that, and I don't ever want to be mean to my kids, like ever yell at them or treat them poorly, but when I'm super tired or worn out, like it just like, hello, there it is again. And it's like, I don't want to do that. It probably points to a lie in my life, a lie that I've built, especially in my profession. I'm always like, well, what do people think about my kids? And, trying to, okay, well, if they think that about my kid, what does that say about me? And, how does that thought affect my ministry and that kind of thing? You see how it can get into a cycle of like,
yeah.
And I've always wondered if preachers' kids are always so bad because preachers have put too much pressure on their kids, and preachers have taught their kids, you need to perform in front of people.
It's probably the latter thing more than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is the need to look perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, the only thing I would maybe question, based upon what Paul says, if we have the power to destroy strongholds, that means that at some level, some of the things you're talking about is not a stronghold anymore. Mm-hmm. There has to be some difference between a stronghold and just the general sin that exists.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think your need to, quote unquote, control your children is the sole focus of your life.
Right.
And I think that's kind of what he's trying to highlight here is you need to get rid of the things that consume you more than Christ does.
Yeah, our thoughts don't have to take us captive.
Right.
We can take them captive.
Right. Yeah.
Which is like the beauty in this.
Yeah.
Like, how many times in my life do thoughts take me captive? And it's like, I got to take them things.
Yeah.
I got to make them submissive to him.
Yeah.
What do you think you learn about God and people in this?
God, I think, is easy in that if our focus is solely on him and him alone, nothing but good occurs. Nothing but good manifests itself out of us.
Yeah.
It's not that we control the environment, but it's not that the good is the outcome. It's just that when God is centered, good things tend to sprout forth.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the...
At least the controllable things.
Right. That's one of the lies people believe is I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, true. Yeah. You're not.
Yeah.
But
if
also...
God is centered, you are.
Romans chapter 8, verse 28. You know, God works all things for the good of those who are called according to his purposes.
Yeah.
You know, God does work things for good.
Yeah.
And I'm not good, but he works them good.
Right. And sometimes he uses our, I think that's part of the reason why he starts off with talking bad about himself in some ways, is he takes our bad and it makes it good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and
I guess, what did you learn about God?
One of the things I'm learning about God is specifically through the way he's designed us, that we're designed in a very specific way, and science is kind of like coming around to it. And it's interesting. They'll come around to the idea that are all in the Bible. They're all here. Yeah. And
it's somehow some new thought.
Some new reality of like, oh, you can create pathways in your brain. No, that, Proverbs said that, bud. And Paul said that in second Corinthians. Like, okay, that all is all there already. But man, one of the things I learned about and remember about God through this passage is the importance of our words and the importance of words for him. Words is what he used to create. You and I live by, not by bread, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. Words are so important. And if they're so important to him, then they need to be important to me too.
Yeah.
All
right. Now what about people?
People. I love that even the greatest missionary of all time had a criticism that he felt like he needed to address. I love that. I'm like, yes. Makes me feel better knowing that Paul went through that same thing.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I learn about people. You?
That we and we alone have the ability to control where our focus is. That's good and bad about people. We can fixate on one thing and again, we have that choice of whether we choose for it to be God or whether we choose for it to be the stronghold.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to have a stronghold in your life.
At some point.
The question is the stronghold built on a lie, or is the stronghold built on God?
Yeah.
Yeah. The psalmist will say over and over again, God is his stronghold.
Yeah. Yeah. But is the stronghold good or bad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes we need to use words to remind our brains. So say them things out loud. Don't just memorize them, but say them out loud.
And I think that's why he kind of admits to what his quote unquote problem is he's not saying it's a stronghold, but I think you said it when I was getting the sermon prep. If you're an anxious person, if you only sometimes you have to admit that you're anxious, and then once you admit you have the stronghold, it allows it to start being taken down. Mm-hmm. But until we have the ability to admit what our weakness is, we'll never get rid of it.
Right. Yeah.
Again, that's AA. Is that the?
Oh.
Yeah, that's like one of their whole mottos, right? Is that you first have to admit you have a problem.
Yeah. Preaching through the 12 steps. Someone brought that up yesterday, the 12 steps, and it was a conversation that was private and personal, but they brought it up and we were talking through it, and they said, that would be a good sermon series. And I'm like, you're right. That would be a great sermon series. I'm going to see if there's anybody who's ever done that before, because that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
Because they're all concepts built on
Christianity.
Yeah, I mean, it's all Jesus. So.
If you doubt us, study the moral code of the human population before Christ, and you will quickly see that the morality that you think that you have today only exists because of Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
Only.
Yeah, that's it.
You take it out, what does it look like?
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's pray. And specifically, I think we should pray that God would just reveal to people, if they can't think about what their weakness is, that thing that's in their side or their stronghold, that God would help to show it to them.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to pray for us?
I can.
All right.
If I don't get what you asked for, you just jump in.
You got it. You got it.
Oh, Lord, we thank you for giving us the ability to have these discussions, and for the people that do take the time to listen. We ask that not just in our lives, but everybody listening, that we find ways to identify strongholds and attack them with your glory, so that they fall down like the walls of Jericho. We ask that you also help us identify them before they ever get there, and that we don't just address them once they become a massive problem, but we address them when they are clean water and not dirty water. We thank you for giving us the ability to take our thoughts captive. The one creation you have given that ability, and we will forever be grateful for it. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Go choose Christ completely.